Hello, welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. I'm here with Steve, and the Irish squad announcement for the upcoming fixtures against Bulgaria is set to be announced this Thursday. So, me and Steve are going to just run through the previous squad, talk about a couple of the players who might come in, a couple of the players who might go out, and a couple of the players who are maybes, I'd say. Really interesting squad announcement to come because I'd say a lot of new faces, a lot of, first caps maybe.
Yeah.
Because I think the team is going to look quite a lot different this time around. We're just going to go through from goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, forwards, and see what our thoughts are on that. So just starting it off with goalkeepers, I think this is quite an easy selection. Typically it's three keepers that they take in the squad, whatever about the provisional squad, and we have news on that as well, based on reports that came out during the week. But for goalkeepers, Caoimhín Kelleher, Mark Travers and Max O'Leary were the three last time. I would have to imagine that Gavin Bazunu comes in for Max O'Leary.
Exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
And just, I don't know. Do you see any chance that Gavin Bazunu or Mark Travers takes the starting job off Caoimhín Kelleher, or just because he hasn't been really playing recently, he's been sitting on the bench, whereas the other two lads have been playing?
I'd love to see it, but I don't think I will see it. I mean, the players that are playing the Premier League always kind of get favoured.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's not playing. That's the thing.
Yeah, I know. That's what's frustrating about it. And like you said, I mean, Mark Travers playing very well from Middlesbrough at the moment, pulling them out of a hole, along with Finn. And then Bazunu was over at Standard Liège, isn't he? Over in Belgium.
Playing quite well.
Yeah. I'd personally, out of the three, this might be a bit biased, I'd pick Bazunu, but obviously he's only back playing starting football. I'm not silly, I know that, but he's my favourite out of the three.
I'd agree with you in the sense that Gavin has played the best football in an Irish shirt out of the three of them.
Yeah.
But I'd say Kelleher is probably just at that level ahead at the moment. Look, I'm not making the case against Kelleher. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but I do think it's still Kelleher's shirt to lose, I would say.
Yeah.
Having said that, I wouldn't bat an eye if Mark Travers or Gavin Bazunu got picked. Defenders. So last time around when we played Finland and England, our defenders were Seamus Coleman, Dara O'Shea, Nathan Collins, Liam Scales, Shane Duffy, Mark McGuinness and Callum O'Dowda. So this is the interesting one really, because reports came out during the week from David Sneyd that James Abankwah and Rocco Vata, who we'll come on to next, are the two Watford lads, are going to be in the provisional squad at least, which they've been made clear of. And Thursday they'll find out whether they're in the full squad. So I would have to imagine James Abankwah is going to replace one of these. I would think Seamus Coleman's not going to be in because he hasn't been playing.
Yeah.
Dara O'Shea is a definite. Nathan Collins is a definite. Liam Scales is a definite.
I mean, he's not playing. I mean,
he's still one of our better defenders.
Yeah, I know.
Really.
That's the only thing. I mean, I think you kind of have to bring him.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if he's really in contention for a starting place. Maybe at left back.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like we have so much... we've so much questions over the fullback positions.
Yeah.
That, like you said, these ball playing centre halves can play left back. I mean, I know Scales has played left back when he was younger. But yeah, I'd bring Scales.
Yeah, I'd bring Scales too. And just like you mentioned, the left back position, Robbie Brady played really well against Finland last time, even getting a goal and an assist.
Yeah.
So
scored a banger during the day for Preston.
Against Burnley, his old club. So I would see him probably as the left back this upcoming term, but I'm not sure. Liam Scales is probably the only other player who might fill in there.
Yeah, I'd actually go with you on that. I think Brady or Scales. I would go with Brady myself, just because he's starting and he's playing well. So yeah, I'd go with Brady.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you there. Listed as defenders as well, we have Callum O'Dowda, and then also Shane Duffy and Mark McGuinness. Another lad who reports came out of during this week, Dan McDonnell announced that your man, Josh Honohan off Rovers, is going to be selected in this squad. And then Hamer Halgrimsson went on the Late Late Show and announced that he was going to be picking two Shamrock Rovers players in the squad. That was in response to Patrick Keelty questioning him on his comments about needing to leave the League of Ireland to get a spot in the Ireland team.
Yeah.
Crazy comments, which I think we've talked about here at length, so we won't really delve into that too much more. But reports come out that Josh Honan is in the squad. He says that two Rovers players in the squad. Reports are now coming out that he meant by he was referring to Johnny Kenny
yeah,
as the other Rovers player who as I'm sure we all know, Johnny Kenny
still here.
doesn't play for Rovers. He plays for Celtic. I'm not sure whether he isn't aware that he doesn't play for Rovers anymore, or whether he's confusing Shamrock Rovers with Celtic. Not really sure.
Very similar jerseys, we'll give him that.
Or if he's confusing Johnny Kenny for someone else, because Johnny Kenny hasn't been playing at all really for Celtic, and has found himself into the Ireland squad. Look, two very good players, Josh Honan and Johnny Kenny, but feels a little bit to me like he's kind of saying, here's your two call-ups now, shut up. Because Stephen Bradley obviously had a bit of a back and forth to Hemer Haagensen about his comments, and, you know, had been quite outspoken about it. I know Damien Duff and Stephen Kenny as well. But your thoughts on that?
That's one way to look at it. I mean, that's probably the most realistic way to look at it. But that being said, if that's the truth, that doesn't take away the fact that Honohan himself definitely deserves a shout for the provisional squad at least, because he can play right back, left back, centre half, and we just spoke about again, right back and left back are two positions that like we don't even know who's going to play there. So I think Honohan's one of them players, you bring him and he fills in for someone if needs be and gets his first cap because he's so diverse and because he can play across the whole back four really, or back five if you play back five. In regards to what you're saying there, that is one way you can look at it. Or maybe he's just Haagensen showing that he's not stubborn and that he is changing his mind on that, and he probably does regret the comments. I mean, he kind of downplayed that, didn't he, when he got asked about that?
Well, he said it was like taken out of context and that he didn't really mean that. I feel like he kind of just got caught out in it and is kind of doing this as a gesture to like make up for it. To be honest, not to say that Josh Honan isn't a good player, because you know he is, and like you said, left back is an area where we are kind of thin, and he is quite versatile. Having said that, I don't know if he would be in this squad if those comments weren't made, and if he wasn't called out in it. That's just my opinion on it.
Well, you'd hope that's not the case, but I mean, it's very possible that is the case.
It feels that way, I think.
It does a bit, especially after at the Malta press conference and the game at the Aviva with Rovers and Bows. Bradley was starting to hit back a bit, so it is kind of strange timing, isn't it? Then
we'll come on to Johnny Kenny as well when we get to the forwards. Yeah. But just a couple of other names who are probably going to make it into the squad who weren't in it last time. Jake O'Brien, who I would say will make the squad, not only make the squad, probably nailed on to start, likely at right back. Matt Doherty, do you think he gets back into the squad? I would say probably yes.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Kind of similar to Josh Honan. I mean, he can kind of play across the back four anywhere really. If you need him to, like obviously ideally you want them playing right full, but yeah, I think you bring Doherty. I mean, his experience as well in the Irish national team, even though he hasn't been playing great for us, he still has great experience, and he has great experience playing at a high level in the Premier League. Like
you said, he was dropped out of the squad for a good reason, to be honest. I thought he's played quite poor in the last couple of windows, but to be fair to him, he's found consistency at Wolves. He's been playing most weeks. He's even captained them at times. So I think an experienced head like that, maybe replacing the likes of a Shane Duffy or Seamus Coleman in the squad, can't do any harm really.
Especially when, like you said, he's back playing better football.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's asking for a call up playing like that.
So I would say he probably is a yes. Bamadelli injured with an Achilles, unfortunately, probably would have been in there.
So
having said that, we can't take every defender.
We can't, but he would have been, him and Jake O'Brien, besides Nathan Collins, the obvious ones, him and Jake O'Brien would have been the two that I would have loved to have seen in the squad, because like we talked about earlier on, Strasbourg are actually sixth in League One.
Yeah.
League One, as Paul said last week. But Andrew was actually playing a lot of games for them, 90 minutes, and then obviously got the injury. So I would love to see him come away, but what can you do if he's injured? He's injured, you know.
Yeah, and then James Abankwah reported on him coming in. Your thoughts on him?
I mean, he's playing great football at Watford, isn't he?
Probably not going to start, but a good option off the bench if needed. Versatile as well, can play really anywhere across the back line.
I'm telling you, like all these Irish defenders have that versatility in them. They can either play left back and centre half, or they can play right back and centre half, or some of them like Josh Honan can play all three.
Yeah, like you said, wealth of talent at the back. Jimmy Dunn, probably not at the moment, has come into form a little bit at QPR, but probably just a little bit down the pecking order. And then Aaron Cashin, probably the move to Brighton has kind of taken the wind out of his sails a little bit. Maybe if he had kept going with his form at Derby, he might have had a shout. But
I think he definitely would have had a shout. I think he would have been in the squad if he kept on his form, because I mean he was captain at Derby at a young age.
And who knows, he might still end up in the squad. But I suppose
maybe you see him come in for someone like Mark McGuinness. Like
I was going to say, in that scenario, would Mark McGuinness come out?
Yeah,
Mark McGuinness did play quite well, I thought, even though we got hammered against England. We spoke about it in the review in here after that match, that although, you know, we did end up getting fairly hammered in the first half, it was actually a really good performance, and he stood out in, you know, I think it was his first match for Ireland. So
I think it might have been, yeah.
Yeah. So a maybe for Mark McGuinness, I'd say.
Maybe, yeah.
Moving on to the midfielders anyway. So last time around against Finland and England, we had Josh Cullen, Jason Knight, Jason Malumbi, Finn Azaz and Andy Moran listed as midfielders. Another couple of names we need to talk about here because like I mentioned with James Abankwah, Rocco Vata, the other Watford man who is reported to be in the squad. So your thoughts on him being a attacking threat probably on the wing?
Oh, he has to come. He has to. I mean, if you look at his form for Watford, I know he was injured the last month or so, but his goals and assists, he contributes in all aspects of scoring goals. Like, how do you not bring him? Young, exciting player, versatile, can play as a 10, play him out wide. If needs be, you can move him around. But
the other big point there is that we're lacking wingers right now. Mikey Johnson is probably our only recognised fit winger. Chidozie Ogbeni out, Festia Biselli probably out.
Yeah, he hasn't been playing for Başakşehir at all.
Yeah, Schmodik's definitely out. He's just had surgery on his ankle. So, you know, he might end up in the starting 11. I mean,
honestly, it wouldn't shock me.
I can't see it right now, to be honest, but it wouldn't surprise me if he came on and played significant minutes.
No, not at all. I think if he didn't have that injury that he had at Watford in the last couple of months, I think he would have been in conversation to start in the team.
So just running through the rest of these midfielders, it's quite interesting because we're talking about these players that we want to bring into the squad, but that means that obviously someone has to come out.
Yeah.
And we've got Josh Cullen, who I would say is a definite.
Lock in.
Jason Knight, who always performs well for Ireland, so I wouldn't really be touching him. Jason Malumbi, who has done quite well in the past for Ireland, has been playing quite consistently for West Brom.
Yeah.
Probably not the flashiest player, but is definitely a worker.
I was about to say he's a workhorse, yeah.
Does quite a good job in the midfield. Finn Azaz is probably in the form of his life at the moment when it comes to playing at Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough struggling, but him being the one shining light.
Double digits in goals, double digits in assists.
10 goals, 10 assists, isn't it?
Mental. And
just carrying Middlesbrough. Andy Moran has been playing for Stoke, but kind of off the bench.
He'd have to come out for John Finn.
And look, it's no indictment on Andy Moran because he is a great player and we've seen it at under 21s level how talented he is. It's just in terms of picking the players who are most important.
Someone's got to give, like someone has to come out.
And like you just mentioned, John Patrick Finn.
Oh my goodness.
Playing in League
Liga.
Yeah. Talk about him to me. Can he... They give you the giggles there.
Man, I mean, he's like when you mention midfielders, the first name that comes to my head is John Patrick Finn.
Yeah.
Beast of a man. We've talked about him on Irish Abroad. Beast of a man. Like you said, he played kind of as a left winger against Getafe.
For Getafe, yeah.
Yeah, but now he's playing central midfield for Rams in League
Yeah.
And he's playing well. I mean, did you see the game that he played against PSG a few weeks ago? I mean, like that just shows the quality that he has, and he's a tank.
Just so dominant in the midfield. Him alongside Josh Cullen with maybe an Azaz or something in front.
That literally that gives me excitement.
Yeah, and depending on how we set up, that's what that's dependent on. But I'd love to see him at least get an opportunity, even if it is off the bench.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him get his first cap for Ireland. Another player that we wanted to talk about, Will Smallbone, who scored against Liverpool this week, has been out for quite a while with an injury, returns to Southampton and scores a goal after not many games back in the squad. Was quite a prominent figure in the Ireland team before he picked up that injury. I'm thinking about the friendly against Hungary where he put in a great ball for Adam Edith to score.
Yeah.
Do you see him getting back into the Ireland squad straight away?
Honestly, like talking about John Finn there, the first thing that comes to my head is he'll probably come off the bench and just be part of the squad. Talking about Will Smallbone, straight away I think I can actually see Hagginson starting him beside Josh Cullen in the midfield.
It's a bit of an ask now coming back off such a long-term injury and really only now getting back into the Southampton squad.
Yeah, personally, I wouldn't start him, but I can see him starting. I mean, he's going to be in the squad. I mean, he kind of has to be, doesn't he? So, because like you said, the form he was on before his injury, and he has played well for Ireland. Not as well as he should have or he could have, but you've seen flashes of brilliance in an Ireland short for him.
Yeah. And just another shout out, probably not really in contention for the Ireland squad, but Killian Phillips has been playing great at St. Mirren.
I honestly, I'd love if players like this were looked at. I mean, there's not even rumours of him being in the provisional squad, is there? So
the thing is with this is, although it's a Nations League game, it is a playoff, quite an important game in terms of being relegated from this group.
Yeah.
It does have implications on our seeding going forward when it comes to qualifications.
You're going to have to bring the players you can rely on. I've proved it.
I know it's not like, in most people's minds, they think of the Nations League, oh, it's just a glorified friendly. You can look at it that way, but this does, believe it or not, have implications on our seeding. So I think maybe not the time to be testing out players. Having said that, I could definitely see Killian Phillips breaking into the Ireland team in the near future because he's playing brilliant for St. Mirren, and maybe if he just got his move, to a bigger club, more prominent club.
Maybe he goes to Celtic.
Yeah, could do. Just climb the ladder in Scotland. Scotland basically is Celtic now. But anyway, moving on to the forwards, because this is where it gets exciting. Yeah, and like I mentioned in the Irish Abroad, we talk about all these players every week. Informed players who score, assist, just have good performances. And we talk about it because we like to see them do well personally. But the real purpose of doing the Irish Abroad is to highlight players who we want to see performing in a green shirt. Two players who have been performing better than anyone right now, Troy Parrott and Adam Ida. We're in the last squad, absolute guarantees to get in this upcoming squad, and probably absolute guarantees to start, I'd say. Evan Ferguson, I'd say, is a definite, even though things haven't panned out so far at West Ham. I'd say he's still a yes to come on this campaign. Tom Cannon is a bit of an interesting one.
Just hasn't kicked off at all at Sheffield, hasn't he? No?
Not really.
Scoring was.
He'd been playing quite well at Stoke, and maybe if he had kept things going there, he would have been in contention.
I think so.
And he still could be. I'm not sure. There's a couple of other players that we're going to talk about now who are probably in better form.
Yeah. And I mean, like that's one of them positions where like you have to be on form to be mentioned in this conversation, because when you have lads like Parrott and Ida setting the example, I mean,
yeah, and playing up front is such a confidence thing. Like we talked to Olivia, who does the Girls in the Game podcast with Paul. No one knows how to find the goal better than her in an Ireland shirt. There are very few, and it is such a confidence thing. And nobody has more confidence right now than Troy Parrott and Adam Ida. Sammy Smolix is going to be out of this squad due to an ankle injury. Festi Ebiselli is probably going to be out of this squad due to injury and just lack of kind of form out in Turkey. Casey McAteer, I would say, is out. Didn't really perform in the chances that he got for Ireland the last time around, and hasn't even really been making squads for Leicester. I'm sure there is a talented player in there, but it's just not really the timing for him.
No, not at all.
And do you want to touch on him, or will you?
No, so what I was going to say was, like, straight away when you mentioned the forwards and the fact that Schmolix is injured, the fact that McAteer comes out, the first player I think of straight away is that Callum Robinson is missing from this list, and he has to be in there.
Yeah, because like you said, he's been playing very well for Cardiff, scoring goals, capturing some of that form that he had in the past. At the time, he was Ireland's main man when it came to attackers, and he'd kind of fallen out of favour over the last couple of years. During the kind of middle period of Stephen Kenny's reign, he was kind of the main man up front. He's kind of played his way back into the squad. And we mentioned the kind of lack of depth on the wings. He's a player who is versatile. He has been playing up front really for Cardiff, but can play on the wings.
Because he has that pace.
Yeah, and I could definitely see him and Mikey Johnston playing on either flank.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's a great show.
Yeah, just a couple of other players we wanted to touch on. Aaron Conley, who probably might have been in the discussion for the squad, hasn't really found form at Millwall yet. Still hoping that move pans out for him and that we see him back in the Ireland squad soon enough, because we know what kind of player he is. Aidemon Maku has been playing quite well for Millwall, but probably not quite good enough to get into the Ireland squad right now. But
definitely one for the future.
Hopefully in the not so distant future. And then the last one that we already touched on, but it was reported that Hamer Hallgrimsson was referring to Johnny Kenny when he meant two Shamrock Rovers players. Johnny Kenny, not a Shamrock Rovers player,
nope.
just to clarify. He is a Celtic player and hasn't really been playing at all. So this one kind of confuses me.
It confused me big time. I mean, it wouldn't have confused me about 2 months ago, back in like December, but It's so confusing. I mean, Celtic played today in the cup. Kenny didn't even get off the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk about Kenny for ages because it's so frustrating as a Rovers fan. But in terms of Ireland, it just makes no sense why Kenny's in the conversation.
And it could well just be the provisional squad, but even at that, it kind of adds to my argument about it just being a sort of gesture or a symbolic move.
Exactly, because then it kind of tells you that like he's not really following the League of Ireland if he doesn't even know Kenny's not in the League of Ireland anymore.
I mean, if he was, there's no way he could be in the squad. Maybe last year, and the form he was in with Rovers, playing in Europe, playing in big games, in the title race, but I mean, surely not now.
Nah, I mean, I love Kenny. I mean, I'm a bit bitter that he didn't come back, but I love him as a player. I think he's a great player, but it makes no sense for him to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
Especially like we just talked about. Again, you have Ida, Parra, Ferguson. Where does Kenny get in?
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
So
that about wraps it up for our preview of the Ireland squad announcement. That to come on Thursday. I'm going to be at that, I think, so I'll be reporting from there. It'll be really interesting to see what it actually turns out to be.
I'm actually really excited for this one, are you?
Yeah, there's a lot of anticipation on this one because so many new faces that we just talked about potentially getting into the squad and hopefully making their debut in the upcoming games against Bulgaria. A couple of big ones in there, so be really interesting to see. And we're looking forward to the Bulgaria games because there is players in form that we're looking forward to hopefully turning that into production for Ireland. So yeah, look out for our Irish Abroad video that's just gone out, and as well we're going to be doing the League of Ireland podcast for this week, so make sure to look out for that and check us out on all the social media. So see you soon.